6 years ago, back in 2019, there was that little period. It did not last long. It lasted about 2 seconds. But can you remember? It was when some people were actually excited about Bloodlines 2. It got announced out of nowhere. You couldn't believe it. Brian Mitsoda's involved. Other RPG veterans, Chris Avallone. Back then, it seemed like good times. There were Kickstarter revivals of classic IPs. It seemed like we were on the up and up with gaming. The sky was certainly the limit. The sun was shining. Now, in 2025, reality has hit. Most of our beloved IPs, whether it's games, movies, entertainment, it's all been ruined. And Bloodlines itself, I'm sad to say, it's been delayed for the 17th time, and I'm just guessing. I've lost count. Everyone's lost count. No one actually knows. I'm sure the developers would pay semantics and say, no, that was a change of developers. That doesn't count as a delay. Things are not that bad. Come on, have faith. But their reasoning as usual. It's not, we've had to delay the game, we're having trouble, we're disorganized, we can't plan, we never know when these games are going to come out. No. It's a well-oiled machine over there at the Chinese room. Everything's going to plan. The game is actually done, and we're just ironing a few little things out. That's been every single delay, though. Every time this game has been delayed, except for the change in developers. Again, I'll give them credit there, but every other delay, it's been just about done. We just need to get over that hill, and then it's going to be there, and then it never happens. It gets delayed yet again, and then the cope starts. Every single time. Now, there's less copers, to be fair. It's hard to find them. You really have to go searching these days. This isn't Assassin's Creed Shadows, this isn't Star Citizen, but they are out there, and they're here on Reddit. Could you believe it? You've got someone who says, I'm glad they've delayed Bloodlines 2 once more, because a delayed game's eventually good, a rushed game is forever bad. Remember what happened to Vampire Bloodlines 1 at launch? Now, I'm a Nintendo fan. I'll be watching the Switch 2 thing and event and everything, and Miyamoto, big fan, but that quote has been butchered, and it just gets used to somehow excuse every development hell, every single game that has disaster written all over it. This isn't Golden Era Nintendo, this is Paradox and the Chinese Room B team. What we're working with is people who've never really made a game before. Paradox have already got one foot out the door and have said, hey, we're probably not going to do this again, this whole RPG thing, Bloodlines. It's probably a mistake. We were probably wasting our time. Let's go back to fleecing people with strategy games again. No more of this crap. They said that before Bloodlines 2 he'd even come out, basically saying, you know what, we regret this whole thing. It's just a big shambles. Apparently we should still be confident, even after another delay. And I really just think at this point that this would not have been delayed after Paradox said that about thinking this whole charade was a mistake, that they wouldn't delay this unless they felt they had no choice. Because what do they care about quality control, squashing a few bugs? What does that matter when they're giving up on this in the future anyway? They don't care about Bloodlines. They've made it clear. Paradox said, the original Bloodlines isn't even that good. It's just fans with nostalgia goggles. They wouldn't know a good game. Buy our 21st $9.99 DLC for whatever life sim that they're making. That's a great gaming experience. That's what people want. They don't care about Bloodlines. I don't think they would have delayed it unless it's so bad that it's almost reputationally tanking to release it in its current state. And there's little ounces of evidence for this, such as someone found in the latest screenshots that have been released, because we'll talk a bit about what's happening with the game. There's been a PC Gamer article going into some gameplay and what to expect and so on. All this optimism in the games media, could you believe it? But a nice example, this was a media release screenshot, so cherry-picked. Someone noticed that in the game, the shop names are misspelt. Now, this probably is pedantic, maybe it's not a big deal, but if the game is supposedly done, as Paradox have said in their statement in this delay, it's basically done, we just want to make it perfect for gamers, perfect for our fans. Lied every video game developer ever, at least in the 21st century. So we've got Korean Karaoke Cafe. So it's misspelt. It should be karaoke, but they made a mistake. they messed up. They didn't notice this. How don't you notice this? Because the world map is tiny. As I've looked at previously, they released the size of the map in the past. Doesn't look very big. You could walk around it in about 6 seconds. I think that's actually a good thing. We don't want Ubisoft-style open world, 100 times the detail with about half the effort of a game from 20 years ago. We do want it to be small and intimate and cozy. However, you'd think with the world being the size it is, that you could not spell shop names incorrectly. You'd think someone would have picked that up, given they've got dozens and dozens of developers. QA testing, that doesn't exist in gaming anymore. Let's be real. If they release a beta, then players might do a bit of testing before release, but that's really it. And the players will pay for it. That's the new model. But little odd to say it's finished when little details like this are getting picked out in promotional screenshots. How bad are things going with the rest of the game? Again, this could be just pedantic. There's not a lot to really pick at because they don't release all that much footage. But we did have the original announcement. Doesn't say a whole lot aside from it's been delayed until the second half of the year, October or whatever. But according to PC Gamer, do not worry. No. It might have been delayed again and again, but no. They've got you covered because one of their writers, a game journalist, has played it and it's looking great. So all concerns, just forget them. Don't use your eyes. Don't look at the videos and everything like that. No. Game journalists are telling you it's going to be good. These are the experts. They're never wrong. So just stop questioning it. Just buy the product. Just buy the damn product. That's all there is to it. And ignore this as well. It says when you purchase through links on our site, we may earn an affiliate commission. Here's how it works. Does that apply to this game as well? Because you'd think it's got to be a paid article. Who is defending it at this point? But there is a video here, and I actually found this video quite interesting because it had a different tone from some of the other ones. I'm not going to play it. It's just recapping what I've already said. The game has been delayed. We're focusing on just bug fixing. It's all done. It's perfect. Here's our vision, and nothing's been compromised. What I found kind of interesting, though, is in some of the past videos, there was a little bit of pronouns. There was some pink hair I saw. There's no pink hair on this dude. He's got a grey beard. And he just looks like a European nerd who's making a video game that he wants to make. There's no agenda pushing that I can see here. And I think this just really shows what's going on with the industry because, don't worry, I'm not coping, not yet. I'm not saying that this game isn't going to be compromised. Fire or whatever her name is, she's not going to lecture you every 2 seconds. Half the NPCs are telling you you're a bad person if you've got the wrong color of skin and you need to change your ways. There's much to learn. Not saying that that's not going to happen, but the shift is that these companies are desperately trying to hide in their marketing that their games are being made by weirdos. And if you buy this game, you're just going to have a strange, kind of insane experience because the people making them have lost their mind for the most part. That hasn't gone away. Like all these games, like Bloodlines 2, anything that's been in development as of sort of 3 or 4 years ago, we saw it with Dragon Age, many other games. Those are just lost causes, and they're not sort of able to throw them out for the most part, all these companies. They're probably going to have to release it in some sort of state. A lot of games to come over the next year or two that it's going to feature all of the same insanity, but the marketing departments, the head honchos of these companies, who finally come to terms with the fact that the everyday person doesn't want that shit, and they've been fooled and conned into thinking, oh, no, that's the culture shift, the world's going that way. People know that's not happening anymore. So marketing departments desperately are trying to, how can we hide what the game really is, the tone and all that? So they're hiding it as best as possible. This isn't a bad way. It just looks like a bearded historian talking about the game, doesn't mention anything aside from game quality and wanting it to be the best it can be. Even the little bits of footage that pop up, they've tried to make those a little bit more dark, maybe more like the original Bloodlines. We don't really see any vampires talking about their feelings. It's been a sad, sad day. All that seems to be gone, but I'm not naive enough to think that it's all out of the game. It's just been taken out of the marketing. We saw a bit of that from EA, BioWare with the Veilguard, where you might remember before release, they tried to release like these darkish trailers, which, oh, we're going back to our origins roots. That whole Fortnite mobile phone game companion reveal, no, that was made by the wrong team. Don't you see? We're here for you, true Dragon Age fans. That turned out to be a total lie, whether it was cope from fans or deception from EA. Probably a bit of both, but I think it's just an interesting observation. Who cares about Bloodlines 2? Like, let's be real, it's going to come out, it's going to be just a total flop, they're going to get nothing right. But nice to get something out of looking at this crap, even if it is just noticing that all these game companies, they're shifting directions in their marketing to cater for the majority. People who don't want just total garbage in their games that they never asked for. Now, there's another article which goes into a little bit of the gameplay. So this is the same guy. I did have a bit of a look, a background check to see, are there any pronouns floating around? Has he left Twitter for Blue Sky or something like that? He has left Twitter, but I couldn't find any evidence that it was for political reasons. It might have just been getting off social media. So I'm not going to throw him under the bus immediately. He's talked about RPGs, seems to like some genuine ones. If we're, I guess, analysing him on the game journalist scale and rating him, I wouldn't have him down with the depths of the Polygon and the Kotaku writers and so on. Doesn't seem that bad. But he does say, Bloodlines 2 has put a lot of my worries to rest. As a former teenage goth and Anne Rice fanatic, who still pines for the days when Troika was designing RPGs, my excitement level following the initial Bloodlines 2 announcement were off the charts. Alright, I tried to be nice, but is he saying that he used to wear a dog collar and prosthetic vampire fangs? Might have to reevaluate. So I was unsure of what to expect when I visited the Chinese room for the very first Bloodlines 2 hands-on. I went in a bit skeptical. Now I'm cautiously on my way to becoming a convert. After playing through the prologue twice and getting to muck around with a bunch of in-game ability combos, the things that stuck with me that are the most powerful is how I felt and how much the game delights in leaning into the vampire power fantasy. Now, by prologue, is he referring to that gameplay video from... Are we getting on like over a year ago now? This development's dragged on that long. I remember when we got our first bit of gameplay footage, and here we are 14, 15 months later with really fuck all of anything else. A few screenshots that have popped up here and there. But that prologue, it looks super boring. The writing was obviously a step down from Bloodlines. And I mean, I was going to bag it out, but is it any worse, the writing I've seen, than your average video game written by modern, strange people? Probably not. It's probably just par for the course, but obviously worse than Bloodlines. And one day, back in 2019, people actually had expectations for this. They thought they might actually get entertained, but the rest of the prologue just looked boring. The gameplay, nothing special. Probably that was a bit over my expectations, given there was actual gameplay, but we're not really here for combat. We're looking for the whole RPG experience. Combat can be part of that. Everything else looked dull. Why are you playing the prologue multiple times? Maybe that's all they've got of the game. That's actually working, and that's probably why this game has been delayed, if we're being honest. But apparently it leans into the vampire power fantasy if you're someone who likes to wear dog collars. It's a very different experience from Redemption and Bloodlines 1. I wouldn't want it to be the same as Redemption. Again, they've advertised this as the sequel to Bloodlines. Even if Paradox have said, no, false. You're getting your hopes up for no reason, and it's your fault, the player. Why are you expecting it to be like the original Bloodlines? We may have tried to sell pre-orders for years based on the Bloodlines name, but players are entitled, gamers are entitled. That was the gist of what Paradox said not that long ago. But yes, this person who is praising the game admits that it's nothing like Bloodlines 1. Both of which, those previous games, Redemption, Bloodlines, both of them put you in the blood-soaked boots of a fledgling vamp, clueless and weak, but Fire is not a baby. They're an elder, 400-year-old vampire celebrity, awoken a century after abruptly vanishing. As an elder, they have access to not just the powers of their clan, but those of the other clans too, and are much stronger, more resilient than a newborn undead monster. In classic video game form, however, they've been sapped of their strength. yet they remain a heavy hitter. That's all totally fine if the rest of the game is good. This isn't really getting to the meat of it. I want to know what we do. This is all I've really wanted to know about Bloodlines for a while, is what is the day-to-day kind of gameplay, moment-to-moment gameplay. Is there a proper hub? Is the open world an actual hub where you can actually just adventure around and there's side quests and it's interesting? That's what immerses me. I don't care so much about this stuff. I don't think that, like, the main story is going to be a total disaster. I don't think that's really where this is going to go wrong. It's probably going to be acceptable. It's going to be true to World of Darkness or whatever, but I want to hear about the RPG stuff, and if they were just honest and said it's not an RPG, it's a walking sim, that's been kind of implied, but they keep teasing you because the game, it gets delayed again and again, and then people tell you that, oh, no, it might be good, and then the coping starts once again, because you hope maybe we'd get an experience like the original, but stop coping, please, stop coping. After I wake up in an abandoned Seattle building, I immediately murder a security guard. A violent statement of intent. Okay, so are we going to get to some actual... I don't need you to describe the prologue. So this is why people don't trust the game journos, because we just want to hear about the game. Is it good? What's happening? And then you're just describing every action. And that's why everyone thinks you're shills, because that's what it reads like. And then you got your affiliate links and everything. Right away, you've got supernatural strength, speed, and agility. You can scramble up buildings in the blink of an eye, glide for long distances, and pull off air dashes. Even better, you've got unlimited telekinesis, and I always say that wrong. And you better believe the team has littered the game with detritus that can be weaponized. This all sounds great. It doesn't sound like anything that I cared about or was doing in the original Bloodlines. And maybe that's because I'm a boring gamer. I am. I'm one of those people who plays Baldur's Gate 3, and I had to really force myself to play as the non-just sort of human fighter character. I always do this in every game. I go back if I play Morrowind or any Elder Scrolls or something. I always tell myself, I'm going to do something interesting this time. I'm going to be a mage or this. And then I just play the same old character again and again. It keeps happening. But the options should be there for different styles of gameplay. I'm not just talking about the combat like it mentions here. It should be other stuff. It should be on the persuasion side, talking, other areas of gameplay, whether it's hacking or it could be lockpicking or science or whatever it might be. Different things like that. This sounds incredibly gameplay focused. They've talked about this for the longest time. Almost every little dev diary or whatever just goes into combat stuff. Nothing else. And it's why most people don't think it's going to be an RPG, at least in the vein of the original. They seem to have removed all of what I would consider to be some of the interesting stuff that set Bloodlines apart, given it was an RPG in more of a modern world, not just like a sword and sorcery fantasy game. And I really like that they took advantage of all the modern stuff. It doesn't mean it needs to be 2025 modern. Go back in time if you want to and just be like the original Bloodlines. But it's all combat, apparently. They say that fights are a trip. After last year's big gameplay, I was pretty critical of how it looked. As a viewer, it's easy to brush it all off as a jerky mess. When you're in control, though, it all just comes together. So it's more of this, don't use your eyes. No, I know it looks like absolute crap, but when you have your keyboard and mouse, your controller in your hand, suddenly it feels amazing. I actually can't think of a game where that is the case. And I don't actually care about janky games whatsoever, but I've never seen this where combat looks janky and terrible, but then you play it, it's actually incredible. There are games where the combat is clunky and it's not so good, but other elements of the game make up for it. So you shouldn't just judge the combat and write off the game completely. Games might have different strengths and weaknesses, but they've advertised the combat as being like the main appeal, the main event. It looks shit. They've shown nothing to suggest it looks really any better. Maybe there's been little clips that aren't quite as bad as that original January 2024 reveal, but you'd think they'd put a bit more effort into some of that marketing if it was genuinely good and genuinely felt amazing. A paid article from PC Gamer, don't think that's going to sell people in 2025. People have had enough. And maybe it's genuine. I'm not saying that he got paid. Maybe they gave him some more prosthetic fangs and the nostalgia and everything. He's just in a good mood. But Why are there no other previews is probably what I'd ask. Maybe I just haven't found them, but the only one I've looked at is this PC Gamer one. Haven't seen any others posted anywhere. But they invited this person especially to come and look at the game. How did that happen? Was that random? They just selected from like a little lottery system at random or something and threw a dart at a board and it landed on this person's name, Fraser Brown at PC Gamer? Why is this the only person who did a preview? That seems a little bit odd. You'd think there'd be a bunch of them out there like there are for other games. I don't usually trust game journalism, if you could believe it, but this one, it looks a bit fishier even than normal, which is just a little bit odd, but maybe it is much better. Maybe when you get it in your hands, if you spend your $70 and you get it, it feels amazing. The only way that you could possibly know if this game's going to be good, according to these game journalists, is if you depart with your money. It's the only way. So, come on, let's do it. October, it comes out. Maybe we'll all be proven wrong in this game. It's going to be a classic. Won't be like the original, but it could be a very fun experience indeed. I can't wait. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.